That's carried. The next one is a joint one from Coastal Bearwood, Papanui Innes, and that is in relation to the, now they've moved it.
Staff have provided some new words this morning. There was just an error in the party that came through, so where they were highlighted, staff can probably speak to it better than me.
Yeah, okay, well, I'll get staff to speak to the amendments, but it looks like they're just technical amendments, tidying up a few oversights in what is a very complex set of approvals, revocations and sections all being dealt with in terms of the work that needs to be done in the space. So if you want to talk briefly to the amendments, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, the amendments are just administrative. Somewhere along the line, new recommendations didn't get added in as the joint boards chose a slightly amended version to staff recommendations. So highlighted in 6 and 7 there just reflect the updated numbering, and then down in 7 the large body of highlighted text there are the 4 recommendations that were omitted in error, and they just reflect the wording in 6 that the existing 70 kilometres per hour speed limit on Marshland Road is for the moment being retained from a point south of the railway tracks down to Preston's Road, but 60 kilometres per hour would be set on that northern section of Marshland Road and the southern section of Marshland Road below Preston's.
Right, and that was well within the...
It's well within what was discussed at the joint board meeting and reflected in the wording of recommendation 6.
Right, that's lovely. Thank you for that. So you'd like to move that?
No.
Oh, okay. So, okay, well, David.
Just clarifying then, so these emissions, you're saying that we are from a point 200 and something or other metres south of the railway line or the Spencerville Road intersection back to Preston's Road, that speed limit would remain as it is while we're doing an evaluation for 3 months?
Correct.
Okay.
So the highlighted recommendations there are really just revoking the existing speed limit on the northern section and the southern sections, and then setting new 60 kilometres per hour speed limits on those sections.
The northern section...
From that point, just south of the railway tracks, through to the Spencerville main north
just
intersection.
That 200 odd metre
Yes.
section, yeah. I have a lot of trouble with this work, and I've said so at the joint working party as well. The majority, somewhere around about 80% of submitters to this proposal were against reducing speed limits on Marshlands Road and the main North Road. And no one, including myself, has any objections to the other parts of it. I'd actually perhaps quite like to move an amendment that the 7...
I don't have a mover and a seconder yet,
No.
so...
I'll move it.
You could move the resolution.
No, I'm not
moving
moving the
seconder.
resolution.
Okay, so...
No, move your own resolution.
All right.
Well, I'm just a wee bit on principle.
Yeah.
Is it along? Yep.
Well, I don't mind. Well, if you move it,
Okay.
and Pauline seconds it, so we've got a motion, and you want to move an amendment.
Yeah, I'd like to move an amendment to 7G, 7I and 7V, that the speed on all of those be 70 kilometres an hour.
So that it needs a lot more work done on it than that. Can somebody? I'm going to take this one offline and let staff actually work out what the amendment should be, because I don't want to put up an amendment that could pass. I mean, I don't know what the impact of it is, so I haven't. I mean, I've read as much of the paper as I thought I needed to read to generally understand what was being proposed in this area. But So tell me
I'm just saying
what you're
there's
trying
huge-
to do is to you want to make
Marshland's Road and
Marshland
the main
Road. It doesn't have an S on the end.
Well, I
So,
lived on it for
no,
years and I was
no, no.
Still
told
called
that.
Marshland.
Well, it is Marshland Road. Sorry,
I know.
but anyway, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it's
Want
called.
to reduce the speed on Marshland Road.
You want to not reduce the speed limit at all on Marshland Road.
Correct.
So, how
And the main North Road up to the old
well, why
highway
don't we
bridge.
just have an amendment that actually says amend the resolution to remove the change to reduce the speed limit
Just to
on
retain 70k on Marshland Road.
on Marshland Road.
Yeah. And the main North Road to the highway bridge.
In Main
Okay,
North Road.
and Main North Road to the Highway Bridge. Okay, so we've got that as an amendment. Do I have a seconder for that amendment?
Cylinders.
Aaron? So, Mike? Yeah, but I'm just generally, are people generally comfortable with having asked staff questions? Because I'll open it up for debate and you can deal with the amendment in the context of the debate. I'm going to love you and leave you because I have to go and open the tech summit. So it is. I actually think that everyone would like me to adjourn the meeting and come with me, but no.
Comment from staff about the implications of the amendment?
Yeah, could staff provide some advice before we open it up for debate? Could you provide some advice on the impact of that amendment?
Yes, the wording of the amendment would retain existing 80 kilometres per hour speed limit on Main North Road as it stands now, through to a point just north of Cheney's Corner, and also retain the existing 70 kilometres per hour speed limit then on Marshland Road, all the way down through to home base effectively.
So would there be any impact on the traffic flow and impact on that? Like, what would be the implications of that?
The implications are that it would not be consistent with safe and appropriate speeds in the speed management guide or the setting of speed limits rule.
Okay, so I'll let Andrew take the chair and have a great debate.
Thank you.
Thank you. I shall be back at 2.
All right, so we're moving into debate on the whole matter, and then I'll put the amendment, and then I'll put the motion either amended or not, depending where we get to. So debate on this, Mike, and then Pauline.
Marshland Road, or just the bit that's going to be set aside?
So the question really is, does the
entire
amendment
stretch.
as worded reflect what you want to achieve?
The whole stretch, right up to home base.
I wanted to see 70k basically from Kiwi2 Drive to the highway bridge.
So does the amendment reflect that?
You need to amend the amendment slightly,
Yeah,
Dave.
so if the amendment doesn't reflect what you want to achieve, we need wording that does reflect
But you
what you
just
want to
need to
achieve,
put
otherwise
in-
we're voting on something
Just need
else.
to put in 70k on Main North Road.
I really don't want to spend too much time on this because it may be that there isn't an appetite for the amendment to pass at all, in which case
That's
we're
right.
spending time talking about something that's not going to happen.
Current speed limit, and if so, is what he's trying to put actually just negating, and so it would actually be a foreshadowed motion?
No, it's not a foreshadowed motion. It's
Because if the speeds are currently one thing, and he's saying don't adjust them at all, that's negative to adjusting them.
no, because there are a number of resolutions here.
Okay.
It's just, yeah, I mean,
checking.
let's clear this up the way that it's been put already. I mean, the right thing to have done possibly might have been, Dave, for you to have moved an amended motion in the beginning so that we could have just dealt with what you wanted to do.
Well, that's what I
And
tried
then-
to do, but
Well,
You didn't.
we've got to where we've got
I
to.
told that I
Can we get this amendment so that it reflects what you want to do, so that it says what you want it to say?
Well,
and then
originally
can we
I-
check with you and the seconder to make sure that you're both comfortable with that.
It's 70k on Main North Road.
Right.
Well, I don't know, because the officer said
No, it's 80,
80,
Aaron.
so you want it.
Yeah, it's 80 now.
So is this right now? Amend the resolution to retain 70 kilometres an hour on Marshland Road and 80 kilometres an hour on Main North Road to the Highway Bridge. Is that correct?
No, I
Want
said,
70
I
on
wanted
Main.
70 on, retain 70 on Marshlands Road and set the Main North Road at 70
And
also.
set,
And set the speed, yeah.
so, and set the,
I think we've got some staff advice.
Yeah, we'll get that in just one moment.
Yeah.
We'll get that in just one moment. And then I'll take, if there are any questions on the amendment, given that this wasn't anticipated, I'll take those. Then we'll debate the whole thing. Then we'll vote on the amendment. Then we'll vote on the motion as it stands at that time. Amend the resolution to retain the 70 km/h speed limit on Marshland Road and set the speed limit at 70 k's on Main North Road to the Highway Bridge.
7I and 7B, which actually
From the railway line.
sets it out what.
I need to get the wording from Dave.
Well, here's the word, from the railway, I know what he's
I need to get the wording from David because it's his amendment. Are we right?
we've got the right areas on Marshland.
Well, the defined areas were actually set out in 7G, 7I and 7B, and that's what I wanted to do initially, was to amend those particular clauses of the resolution to adjust the speed limit from 60 to 70k.
So do you want to specify that in this amendment?
But I tried to do initially.
Right, well, give me the wording and we can
So
do it. It's
I
your
would like
amendment.
to
We can put in whatever you want.
Amend resolutions 7G, 7I and 7B
Just add it to that.
to
As per 7G, 7I, 7B.
No, just let him finish, Paul.
amend the speed from 60k to 70k.
Right, can you repeat that, please? Just for the benefit of the people that are typing.
7G, 7I and 7B, that the speed limits be set at 70 kilometres per hour in each of those clauses.
Just one moment, I want to check that we've got this right. Because once we've got the amendment as David wants it to be considered, we can then check that the seconder is still comfortable with that, and then we can proceed to ask questions on it and debate it. So, David, you're now comfortable with what we've got in front of us, the proposed amendment?
Yes.
Okay, great. Aaron, you were willing to second the amendment as it was first worded. You're still comfortable with this?
Yep, just want to clear with Dave, that's from Kiwi2 Drive to the bridge.
Yes.
Cool, all the way.
Right, okay. Are there any questions on this amendment? Well, are there any further comments from staff on the amendment?
Sorry, you go. The first point I'd make is that the setting of speed limits rule doesn't allow us to set a 70 kilometre speed limit without specific approval from NZTA. Also, the numbering of the recommendations there, 7G, 7I, 7B, don't seem to reflect the sections that I think are being discussed. 7B
When I read it.
is setting of a speed limit on Kainga Road. 7G is approving Main North Road, but the section from the Spencerville corner through to Dickie's Main North.
Yeah, I wanted to do that one as well.
So is there another letter that we, another 7 something that we need to put in here as well?
Yeah,
No, I want to get this sorted now. This shouldn't be this hard.
maybe the mayor's suggestion was quite a
7G.
sensible one, that if we can get some wording up, then we can have an intelligent conversation around it. But right now, staff are saying that we're actually going to be debating something that's not even possible. So that's kind of a bit of a waste of everyone's time.
So can you explain that we can't,
It's another last-minute agricultural process.
okay,
We need
okay.
to get it done properly.
one part of the road?
Can we-
area?
Is there, what about a straw poll of how, if it's going to pass?
Is there likely to be support for this amendment?
No.
No, and that's my sense of it as well. So, on that basis, do you want us to get wording for this amendment and
Procedural
debate it, or are
motion.
you happy to withdraw it?
Just put it
put it.
All right, so
There's no point. No,
we can deal with the wording later.
Because I don't want something being put that staff actually just advise completely impossible. It just makes a mockery of the whole process.
Yeah, well,
We
that's
have
why I've
something
invited.
intelligent that we can vote yes or no to, not just put things that make no sense. So if we want to work it out, fine with that. I'm happy with that.
Have amended the resolution so
7V,
Marshland Road
not
just
V anyway.
carries, and then we can just discuss it. And if it carries, then we can fix it.
It's supposed to be 7V, not B.
7V.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
G, I and V. We've got.
G, I, and V.
Right, so does that now reflect, and we probably need to get something back from staff on this, does that now reflect what you're trying to achieve and the staff's understanding of a concurrent set of parts of the road that makes some sense now?
At a quick glance, the numbering sounds okay, but I still emphasise that the rule, the legislation, doesn't allow the road controlling authority to set a 70-kilometre speed limit without NZTA specific approval.
So what you're saying is we've got an amendment in front of us that may not be capable of being implemented even if it was to pass.
Correct.
Thank you. That's good advice. All right.
As a point of order, I'm sorry to point of orders, but as a matter of process, then I can't see how, as chair, you can really allow that if it's not actually going to affect anything as if the
So
resolution passes.
now that you've heard that, are you willing to withdraw this amendment?
So hang on, it's just the bit north of the railway line.
I'm actually happy enough with what Dave is
And I
saying.
guess, okay, if
But
people
there
are
was-
saying as the chair I should be doing something, can I get some advice on this?
Couldn't it just be the approach into TA regarding
Well, I'll amend it further.
So
I'll amend it further.
amend it further?
That the speed limits under 7G, 7I and 7V stay as they are currently set.
And any staff
All right,
comment?
unless we can get this sorted within about the next
17.
minute, we'll need to defer it for further advice because
1780.
this isn't working.
So you're saying, can I just clarify with the officers, you're saying that G and I could be amended, but V can't be because we need to get NZTI, or is it all three that?
I think it's just a bit north of the railway line. That's
Can we get
NZTA.
advice from staff on this?
7V, is that right?
Just wish this could have been ironed out
So
previously.
we-
doing
Should we
stuff on
defer
the
this
fly.
till this afternoon to give you a chance to look at it?
We're nearly there,
And-
we're nearly there.
Are we?
Yeah.
So,
Well, perhaps we could let them respond.
Yeah,
so
let's-
the-
Can we get the response from staff and then we'll decide what we're going to do?
So the issue is setting the 70-kilometre speed limit. We can't do that without the specific approval of NZTA. However, if there's already a 70, that could be retained. So what Councillor East is, I think, suggesting now is just retain those speed limits as they are.
Yep.
So keep the 80 as the 80 and keep the 70 as the 70. So that could be done.
So G and I.
And that's what David just said, retain the speed limits as they are.
All right, let's
Full
get
stop.
wording that says that. I thought we'd got there, but
Yep,
clearly we
that's it.
haven't.
Yep.
To retain the current speed limits as they are.
Currently.
I'd just retain the current speed limits as they are on Marshlands Road north of QE2 Drive to the highway bridge
Right.
and the main north road to the highway bridge.
Okay, and just a reflection on that back from staff.
Yeah.
That is the correct parts of the road that we're talking about.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
We just have. Someone already asked that. It doesn't address the safety.
All right.
They answered it already.
So moved and second is an amendment. So now let's move into. Is this a question or?
I want to speak to it.
Okay. So now let's move into debate on both the amendment and the main resolution. Mike and then Pauline.
Thank you. I've got a picture to put up too. Thank you. Okay. So that's Marshland Road, and I guess the question is, what is the value of a child's life? We know this area has had a significant amount of death and serious injury, and this is why these speed reductions were proposed. Yes, there was a lot of community feedback, not just in Christchurch, but in Waimakariri, about not doing this. Was skewed a lot because of the Waimakariri voice because they just want to get into Christchurch as quickly as possible. But we cannot put that on top of the life of children. It's just, that's a no-brainer. As a board, we have listened, we have debated, and we have discussed this, and every single board member, except one, voted to act for the community board's resolution. The one that didn't actually wanted to go to 60 straight away. What we've said is we've listened to the community that want Marshland Road kept at 70, and we'll have a look. If we cannot do it, it's going down to 60, and we'll put a very tight time frame around that. But actually, we are listening to the community by doing that, and we're trying to save people's lives. Speed kills. End of story. If you look across New Zealand, the amount of people dying on our roads is unacceptable, and we have the ability to make the changes so people can actually live. I will not be supporting the amendment. I'll be supporting the community board's recommendation.
Thank you. Pauline, and then I've got Glenn and Anne. Pauline.
Look, I just want to point out to the councillors that this has been to our combined community board, two boards, several times. We've chucked it back for more questions to be answered. We've worked really hard on this. This is a community board recommendation, and I have an issue with Councillor East trying to re-litigate this at the 11th hour without any advance warning that he's doing this, and the time we've spent on this amendment, which I don't think is going to carry, especially after Mike's passionate words about speed does kill. The other point is that there's very seldom that you can actually do faster than 70 k's on Marshland Road currently. So the two boards agreed on this recommendation after, as I said, untold discussions, untold meetings, untold questions, untold debate, and that was agreed by a majority. This is two community boards recommending this option. Staff are going to go away and look at retaining the 70k between those 2 points, the railway line and Preston Road. There are some safety features that will have to be instigated. You saw that photo. The footpaths are really, really dodgy. There's a lot of garden maintenance and trees that need to be attended to. If there's no budget for that, we will readdress this decision, and we will probably maybe look at taking the whole lot down to 60. But currently this is where we've left it, at 70k for that section, reluctantly, as Mike Davidson has pointed out. So I please do not support the amendment and support the two community boards' resolution recommendation.
Tim, David and Aaron.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Glenn, yes, sorry. So
Thanks.
Glenn
Look, this amendment, quite frankly, is so 1970s, back to the days of your big, fast, hard, valiant Chargers and Chryslers. I mean, I get emails and phone calls all the time from people, as Wayne will tell you, wanting speed reductions. People are getting killed and injured on our roads. Thank you, Mike, for putting up that picture depicting the vulnerability of young, vulnerable, small children in our communities from Kiwis who like to drive fast. I'm not prepared to pander to populist politics over fast driving. It's time that all Kiwis, including Cantabrians, lowered their speeds. I fully support the substantive. Thank you.
So, Anne?
Absolutely. We want our children and all our residents to be able to walk and cycle and scooter and get into active transport. Lowering speeds gives confidence that children will be safe. These speed limits are taken into account safe and appropriate speeds identified in accordance with the NZTA Speed Management Guide, as well as another key objective of the guide to improve consistency. And I hear that from residents out our way, that they want consistency in speeds. They're often not sure what's going on, and it gives credibility to speed limits. We know that slowing down vehicles, operating speed saves lives, and there's a strong link between speed and safety. So it's a no-brainer to me. I'll be absolutely supporting the substantive.
Thank you. I've got Tim, David and Aaron. Tim.
Thank you. I just want to thank Councillor Davidson for the photo. We heard earlier on today that a site visit is worth 1,000 words. That photo is probably worth 2,000 words. So I want to thank the staff for their work on this. I think 60 k's in the entire area would be actually better, but I'll listen to those that represent those communities and the community boards. I'll be totally supporting this, and thank you again for the information.
Thank you. David?
As the mover, I'll reserve my last say. Okay.
I'm the mover.
Okay.
No, we're doing the resolution.
We're dealing with the
Sorry, the
the
amendment.
mover of the resolution is Councillor Livingstone and seconded by Councillor
I
Cotter.
thought we were debating the amendment.
We're debating the whole lot together.
Okay. Right, thank you. As someone who lived for 20 years within close proximity to the photo that was displayed, which was rather disingenuous, because there is a footpath along that stretch of road. The vegetation has been allowed to grow substantially, obliterating most of the footpath, and the footpath itself is not in great condition. The vast majority of submitters were in opposition to a reduction in speed. This is a rural road. It is a main thoroughfare into Christchurch. I would have thought that any movement on Marshland Road, should possibly have waited till the Northern Arterial was completed and opened, so that we actually had a better appreciation of the volumes of traffic that are entering Christchurch. I firmly believe that we are jumping to speed reductions ahead of what's going to be perhaps quite a significant reduction of traffic on this road ahead of the opening of the Northern Corridor in about 18 months' time. So I've been in opposition to this proposal right from the outset, from my own experience of many years of travelling on this road and the vast majority of people that have submitted for it. So obviously I will vote for the amendment, but I can see that there's possibly not an appetite around the room.
Aaron?
Wise ending, Dave. I agreed to second this for Dave so we could have the debate. It's been an interesting one. The feedback I've had from people in the area is to not be reducing it anymore. It used to be 100k an hour road. It got reduced down. I remember one of the battles on Tunas Road, which is going to be coming down to 60k an hour. One of the battles there was trying to get that lowered for the last 12 years because it was 80k an hour straight past the primary school, which didn't make any sense. Thanks for the photo, Mike. That's where my children went to school, at Aruia Primary, so they walked that route. With those wee vests on. It was a good traffic management plan that the school had. They were kept safe doing so, and at the speed that it is currently. That stretch of road that Dave's proposed, I know of 3 deaths along that piece of road. One of them was my mother. She was killed along there, along with 2 other families who'd made contact with me after my mother was killed. None of them were due to the speed limit on that road. It was other things. One of them was drugs, one was falling asleep, and the other one was 2 people racing. Speed limits along that road would have made no difference to any of those 3 deaths. In fact, the drug one is an interesting one because I met the parents, had the father cry on my shoulder as he told me the story about losing his son along there just past Preston's when he was hit by a drug driver. Drug driving kills more than speeding. Let's start doing a little bit more about that. As a council, we haven't even written to the government to advocate for mandatory drug testing when police pull over people who they feel are impaired. So we could take a few more steps to make the roads as safe as what some councillors claim they should be.
On this one, I'll be taking a strong steer from the Community Board. I'll be taking the advice of staff. I'll be voting against the amendment, and I'll be voting in favour of the substantive motion, assuming the amendment doesn't carry. So I'll put the amendment first of all. All those in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Against? No. Okay, so that is lost. So the substantive motion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against?
Aye.
One vote against. That's carried. Thank you.
I'd just like my vote against noted just for Marshlands Road and the Main North Road. I am supportive of the rest of the motion.
Thank you.